18 GoTo Biz Pros,
is.
Peers and Resources. Yeah, it is 2018. This is our first one of our series of of the GoTo Biz Pro lives. And we appreciate the audience that joins us today. And also you can watch this at your convenience. We are today going to be talking about risk and reward. And we're with Brett Nelson with Woody Financial. And he's a financial planner, a financial advisor. He works with companies on making sure that, especially on small business, that they think about things like, you know, how are you, if you're a small business owner, how are you going to cover yourself? How are you going to protect your assets and then also manage risk, whether that risk is from a lack of being able to produce, or if that risk is something that's financial that you need to cover. The GoTo Biz Pro Peers and Resources series, we started because there are so many fantastic resources in the Kansas City area for startups. And we appreciate, thank you so much for being here today, because one of the things that we talk about marketing, we talk about media, we talk about how to reach audience. A lot of times we don't talk about that back office stuff. So we want to make sure that we give people some real practical advice on and just some tips on how they do, how they can protect themselves. And so risk and reward, so obviously this is about protecting your assets, but also seeing the reward. And for a small business owner, that's profitability, that's sustainability. And you and I have had some great conversations about some of the tools that you can use for protection, for especially as that small business owner, that proprietor, that person that they've got 4 different hats on, what happens to them if for some reason they can't perform. And then a little bit later we'll talk about well, like me, 4 different hats, and what do you do, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to digress really quick and say that what you've done is tremendous. What you and Xander have done is tremendous as far as creating this GoTo Biz Pro series, and the impact that you've had is truthfully phenomenal. I mean, giving us a platform to help and giving the members a platform to be helped is, you know, it's my day is constantly spent trying to figure out how I can connect to people to help them. So, you know, having you bring us together is truly impactful, and I do appreciate it very much. My pleasure to be able to help out.
Oh, so, I'm so excited. And we've got 2 new venues for people to find you on now. Excellent. So we've got the innovation, the innovation.tech. You can be found. Innovation.tech website. And we have the, if you go to Biz Tips on the innovation.tech website, then Biz Tips, every one of our GoTo Biz Pro lives are on there. We also have a new YouTube channel. So you're going to have to. Right now we have 4. Now we have 4 subscribers. We're going for 10.
Right.
It'd be exciting if we have. We have 100. But it's the Innovation Center, and that's our YouTube channel. And every one of these can be found on there. We appreciate you participating in this venue because for this very reason, we can reach a broad audience and help them out.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about that entrepreneur that really it depends on them. They have to get up in the morning, they have to perform, whether they have staff or not. Their livelihood depends on their productivity. And I know there's some things that can protect them, and really, if they think about it, that they don't necessarily think about protecting, you know, that protection. We're bulletproof, right?
We are bulletproof, and certainly that I think that's a great point to make, in the sense that I think when we think about risk, or I found that when we think about risk, very often when we get into that thinking, it's, well, what are the chances that I would do something that would cause me to be impaired, right? But it's not you, it's the world around you that you have to worry about causing you to be impaired. It's not you, it's the person FaceTiming while they're driving, or it's, you know, just a multitude.
It could be any risk that's out there.
Yes, exactly. So, and I would say that the
or
majority of the time,
long-term illness, or something that you just don't expect.
I'd be curious to see a statistic on how many people that lose their ability to work for an extended period of time. It's actually due to something, an action due to their fault. Like I'd venture to guess that probably the vast majority of long-term disabilities are caused by things out of that person's control.
Right. You're not expecting. Certainly, as you think about it, I have to say I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning as an entrepreneur, going, okay, which is silly. Wake up at 2 o'clock and wonder what if I can't do it. What about my family? And so you've got some idea on methods to be able to plan for that, though.
The great news for business owners is that disability insurance in particular, and there's all kinds of first of all, there's multiple disability insurance products, and I know we were speaking before we started the taping that most people, when they think of disability insurance, they would simply think, okay, well, this would be something that if I couldn't work, it would pay me, like Affleck or something like that, right? Like if I couldn't go to work, this would be something that would give me a paycheck while I'm out of work, right? And simply cover that part of it. But the world that we live in today, there are phenomenal products tailored for the small business owner to not only take care of their personal income, but there are solutions that will pay off loans that they may be obligated to be paying off, which is obviously probably maybe our biggest fear if something happened to us, if we're on the hook for
debt.
a loan.
And we're talking about business debt here.
Business
we're talking
debt.
about business,
yes, not personal line of not like a credit card, but
right. We're talking about everything relative to business.
Justine Peterson loans, right? I have a lot of people. So any of these small business loans, and honestly, if you're proactive about looking into something like that before you go in to get the loan, now you can't get the coverage without having the loan because they have to see the terms, Dr. Coach. But even just when you go in to meet with someone to get the loan or talk to whoever to get the loan, being able to say, hey, by the way, I have something that I can put in place right away that if something would happen to me would guarantee that you're going to get paid back.
So de-risk it for the bank.
Absolutely.
So as you're a small business and you're growing and you need to get and you make that decision to get debt, that's an excellent tool to help de-risk.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Put the bank, look better in the bank side. Even if the bank doesn't necessarily have like a black and white thing that says if you have a policy to pay off this loan, they may not necessarily have that in writing, but just from the mentality of the loan officer, the person that you're sitting across from. I mean, we're human beings, and if you look more qualified to me, that's always going to help your situation, right? So, in the same token, there are disability products that will cover your overhead expenses that will literally pay. I mean, lights, rent. If you have staff, it'll pay for your staff.
So wages,
literally cover
covers
all
of
the fixed costs that are involved with your business. And these products are pennies on the dollar. I mean, that's the good news for business owners. Really, is that they're so cheap. Right? I mean, they're very, 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 very inexpensive. They're the most inexpensive products that you can probably implement. I mean, liability insurance can get kind of expensive sometimes, and things of that. Health insurance can be expensive, but these income protection or these loan protection, these overhead expense protection products are pennies on the dollar. Very, very inexpensive.
Well, and that's a good point. There's a term in the industry, whether you're in the finance industry or if you're an operator, whether you're going into a partnership, whatever financial vehicle that you're going to do or insurance vehicle that you're going to do, we don't really think of ourselves this way, but as the entrepreneur, as the person that drives the engine, and is the business owner, there's a term called key man.
Exactly.
And so you are our key person insurance. If I'm politically correct, sorry.
Yes,
key person insurance. I'm sorry, I'm old.
Old school.
I'm old school.
Always key
Yeah, that's right. You got.
I went to say you guys the other day to a group of gals. I was like, I can't say you guys anymore. I have to say like you.
I know you got to think about that.
You all.
Y'all. That's right. So key person. So when you think about key person, that's what this is talking about. If you think about, and you're talking about an overall sense of protection that manages risk, and you as that key person of the organization, if you're covered for that, that's amazing that it's not just covering you for lost wage or you for lost
or
financially, but the ability to cover overhead. If you can't perform, and that's key to everyone else's performance, that's the primary thing that you wake up in the middle of the night. What happens to me? What happens to these people? And almost every entrepreneur I know feels really responsible for their team. So this is for their team and the ability to perform and how am I going to do this stuff. So being able to cover that really manages your risk.
It certainly does, and it just gives you that peace of mind, and you hit the nail on the head. We often say that every business owner is up at 2 a.m. It's so funny that you said, or 5 a.m. or whatever. We're up 5 a.m. because we're working, but every business owner is up at night at some point with some concern, right? And if I could address all of the concerns that I'm up at 2 a.m. for with, for $10-15 a month, that would be a phenomenal thing. That would be excellent if I could do that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But these risk pieces that we're talking about, again, not only are they great solutions, not only do they really take care of a lot of these, especially these when you're getting going, the biggest risks that you have, the things that could derail you quicker than anything, but they can be done for something that's within any business owner's budget. You don't have to shell out hundreds of dollars a month to be able to
cover that,
yeah. So I mean, understanding that we're a business owner and every penny is a penny that we've got to cling tightly to be able to. I mean, we can all work $15-$20 into our budget, and we can fit. I mean, these products can be implemented for the overhead and the loan repayment. These are products that are $10 or less a month.
And I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, because this is something that we haven't really talked about that element before, and it's also something that we really haven't talked about in as a whole, that when you are able to cover that affects and positively ultimately profitability.
Of course.
And so as we talk about profitability and we look at the time of year this is, everybody makes the face, right? Everybody makes the face, it's tax time. And so there's the idea of covering your risk to check your profitability, but there's also, as a business owner, you have to be strategic in thinking, especially in long-term thinking. So the other thing we were talking about was how to prepare for taxes, and really to think about how tax rates can potentially impact your profitability, but you can plan for them and be strategic about it and use it to your advantage.
You can, and you hit the nail on the head with the term profitability. I mean, as a business owner, and every business owner out there watching, if it's day one, is going to know that you learn very quickly it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And believe it or not, taxes are our biggest expense. Individually from a standpoint, and really as a business owner, I mean, taxes are the biggest expense that you have when it comes to how much you're going to keep in your pocket.
So thankfully, as an entrepreneur, we have to pay them, because that means we are profitable, and so that's that's the one thing about this time of year that everybody goes, okay, exactly. That's right.
And so if there's been a lot of buzz, just in the country, in the media, whatever, but we did have some tax reform in 2000 that took effect in 2018. And anyone that might be transitioning into self-employment from full-time employment, the program or whatnot, that's still working and receiving a biweekly paycheck might realize that their paycheck might have gone up a little bit, since 2018 started, because of those tax rate reductions. And so that brings a phenomenal opportunity to address what we call risk of taxation, or taxation risk. And what is taxation risk? Well, luckily I have a very shiny example. It can be very simply put if we can see this.
Yeah, hold it.
Right,
can you see it, Xander? Okay, there you go.
So what we're looking at right here, Lee, and I think you saw this before, but this right here is a graph of the historical tax rates that we've had.
So this is like in the 50s, right?
You got it, 40s through 60s.
And then this is now?
Like now.
Okay.
Right? And so when we pay when we get our paycheck every 2 weeks, or as a business owner, when we get income and we look and we see that federal and all that stuff, and we say, ugh, that hurts, right? Man, I'm getting killed in taxes, right? I mean, I'm getting creamed. Where's all my money going? Well, actually, historically, we're getting creamed about as little as we've ever been creamed.
Because this, if I remember from the chart, this is like at
90. It's 90.
At 90%,
Yeah.
and so this is about the 70s, and that's about 70%, and then we're over here
About
at about
40, 35 to 40.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So what does this all mean to me? Well, it means that number one, taxes only do three things. They go down, they stay the same, or they go up, right?
Like the markets.
Like the markets. It's been quite a while since we've seen them go down. They had to fight tooth and nail to get them down, but they're only guaranteed to stay down for 7 years, and then in 2025 they either revert back to their current rates or they go up.
Okay.
But the likelihood that they're going to ever go down lower than where they are now is very, very hard to imagine that would happen because of where the country's at. So what that means is that right now, if you're able to figure out ways to save money into places where you go ahead and pay the tax at these rates for the next 7 years, and by doing so avoid having to pay tax in the future when you need to pull the money out, you are eliminating that taxation risk because you don't have to pay tax again.
Okay.
So you're just taking it out of the equation. Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice thing to be able to do. And
Sure.
and so the good news for the established business owners, this is something I would encourage you to get familiar with right away, especially when we come, as Lee and I were talking about, when we couple this with the fact that standard deductions were doubled.
Mm-hmm.
And that applies across the board. Doesn't matter who you are, sole proprietor, LLC, S corp. It doesn't matter. The standard deductions for every individual on their individual income was doubled. Along with that, just the tremendous amount of deductions you can make as a business owner, especially in the first 5, 6, in those early stages, coupled with basically what happened was across the board in each bracket, except for one, all the rates went down. Well, sorry, except for two, all the rates went down by about 4%, 3 to 4%.
Oh, okay.
So pretty much across the board, you're saving anywhere from 3 to 4% on your tax rate. So if you couple that with standard deductions that have been doubled, and then in your first year, early years of the business, your ability to really find a lot of deductions, you're very, 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 very drastically improving. You're getting your tax rate down to probably as low as you're ever going to see in your entire lifetime.
So looking for
exactly.
looking for those as a business owner, being well informed, so you understand and taking and having the proper documentation to make sure that you have the deductions, plus understanding what that tax rate, what the implication is as you're growing, really makes a difference.
It absolutely makes a difference. It's just about being informed, and and really what I want and what you want, which is why we're doing this, is to prevent anyone from ever having to say, I wish I would have known. We're trying to give the benefit of hindsight, right? And so I just want to make sure that everybody is informed on their options. That then what they decide is up to them, but we don't want anyone ever to say, I wish I would have known that was possible, or I wish I would have known that was possible, or I wish I would have known this or that, right? There's a lot of people that I'll meet with that don't realize that they have to pay taxes on money when they pull it out of a retirement plan. They thought that they just didn't ever have to pay, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not about being fully up to speed. And boy, that would be a really big risk and a really rude awakening if you're planning the whole time to have X, not knowing that it's,
So as an entrepreneur, it's about understanding now the things that can be helpful to you to offset your risks and being able to help you continually perform and for profitability, but also understanding as you're planning for the future, some of the tools that are out there, being aware of tax code, being aware of the vehicle and the mechanisms that are out there to help you plan long term for I mean, we all talk about retirement. I talk about it more often than others because I'm old. But seriously, whether you're 20 and starting your own business or whether you're 60 and starting your own business, this applies. You have to just make sure that you plan for risk and manage risk, and that's what it's about. It's managing what you can in your control.
Absolutely, and it's about finding every opportunity that we can to make our dollars stretch as far as they possibly can go. And so, with the insurance piece, for example, we always say, from a financial planning standpoint, the financial purpose of insurance is to leverage someone else or an insurance company for something you couldn't afford to take care of on your own. Right?
Yep.
So if you go buy the Dell computer for your office, don't get the extended warranty because, worst case scenario, you've got to, take on another $20 to $30 a month payment, or whatever it is to go in and do pay the, you're out maybe $600-700, but what you can't cover on your own is if you were unable to come into the office for 7, 8, 9 months.
That's right.
And so then in that situation, we're transferring risk, right? So we're transferring it over to the insurance company, right? And again, just correlating in the tax and the savings piece. That's really just because that's something that's completely out of our control too. Just like, that's up to the IRS and that's up to everybody but us as far as how much they charge, how much taxes are. So these are both risks that are out of our control, but we can make strategic moves to have as much control as possible.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you very much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. You can, again, find us at innovation.tech at the Biz Tips, or you can contact Brett at Woody Financial. And we appreciate your time joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to our next GoTo Biz Pro Facebook Live is going to be next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We're going to be talking about millennial workforce.
Oh, goodness.
So we're going to be talking about how to engage and contact and working with millennial entrepreneurs too, because it's a whole different language, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there we go.
Man.
So thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.